great. Good. Okay. I will gavel in um, May's Ways and Means Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Chairwoman Sims,
Here.
Alderman Gould,
Here.
Alderwoman Tice.
Here.
Alderman Erger.
Here.
All members are present.
Great, thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. It has been requested just to move one item around, that item 7A, the audit presentation for 2023, be moved to 5B, just moving it up. I'd entertain that motion to move that item.
So, second.
Okay, any objection to standing by acclamation? All right, it'll stand approved. Next item on the agenda is the report of the committee chair and alderman. I have no report. Alderman Gould?
No report.
Alderwoman Tice?
No report.
Alderman Erger?
No report.
Item 4 is the city administrator report, and 4A, it looks like we have a presentation by the 2024 Focus St. Louis Emerging Leaders.
Thank you, Alderwoman Sims. The city had an opportunity to submit a proposal to Focus St. Louis for their 2024 Emerging Leaders class. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about how some of the bills that were circulating in Jeff City would impact the city in a negative way, particularly food, grocery sales tax, and some of the other considerations down there. So Michelle, Eric, and I started brainstorming. We have some ideas, but we thought it would be good to talk to others and get a fresh perspective on other areas that the city could possibly consider. So we submitted the proposal to Focus St. Louis, and this fantastic emerging leaders class dazzled us with their proposal last week, Friday. So I want to introduce Dr. Yoli Alomar. She heads the project, the Emerging Leaders class. She coordinates it, facilitates it. Do you want to introduce the Emerging Leaders?
For the opportunity to allow. Do you have a mic?
It's
up
on
there?
the,
Right there. Talk.
Yep. Okay,
on.
great.
So thank you for allowing the opportunity to allow us to be in the community. And we have a very diverse set of talent with cognitive diversity at the forefront, because we wanted different perspectives of the way that we address this diversification of revenue for the city. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the team. Stuart is going to introduce everybody. He served as kind of like the head lead of the team, but for you to know that we get some of the best talent at Focus, and we address community problems and issues that have a tremendous impact on the St. Louis and the surrounding St. Louis area. So we're pleased that we were able to take on this project, and they want to show you a little bit of what they recommend.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. My name is Stuart Stiles III. I am, as Dr. Oliver said, we are a part of one of the cohorts of the Emerging Leaders class of 2024, might I add, the best class. But we took on this project and we heard about the potential problem that the city of Brentwood might have. And we have a little bit of a four-pronged, if you will, implementation plan that we all thought of that would be for the best of Brentwood, the community, and also will strengthen a highway to even further engage the community that you all serve. So in alignment with the City of Brentwood's steadfast commitment of fostering an effective and efficient government that caters to the evolving needs of its residents and businesses while continually striving for improvement, the following ideas are aimed at enhancing the city's financial resilience and sustainability. Grounded in the core mission of preserving, enhancing public and private spaces to cultivate a distinctive sense of place. For Brentwood, this project seeks to explore innovative strategies for revenue diversification. And so the team we have here is none other than Ms. Katie Buck. She is the Digital Communications Coordinator for the Missouri Historical Society. We also have Ms. Tyler Joy, who is the Director of Urban League Metropolitan St. Louis Women's Business Center. We have Mr. Christopher King, who is the IT Manager for the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. We have Robert Mason II, who is the founder and CEO of Double Wolf Enterprises, LLC. And we have myself, the Associate Director of Student Recruitment and Family Partnership for St. Louis Voices Academy of Media Arts, and Ms. Gabrielle Wheaton, who is unfortunately unable to be here. All right, so we have a table of contents everywhere. So the primary objective of this is the proposal is to introduce and explore concepts that can effectively diversify Brentwood's revenue streams, and also to achieve an objective of our proposal outlined in a multifaceted approach. And it encompasses the following key strategies. It encompasses new businesses, which I will present that aspect, and then we're going to have different members of the team present that pronged aspect as well, and then we'll close and conclude. And you'll be amazed as always. All right, and our corporate sponsor is our second strategy. Neighborhood partners is our fourth strategy, and of course, public awareness is the fourth strategy. I'm sorry about that. All right, so the objective is the city of Brentwood aims to explore, like I said, innovative strategies to diversify the revenue streams of enhancing financial resilience and sustainability. So what we're going to do is that we're going to talk a little bit about our new business model. So my aspect is the new business model. All right. And one aspect of new businesses, we know that new businesses can bring about a lot of new revenue, especially if it's something that attracts community, not only in Brentwood and abroad. We know that Brentwood is about two square miles. Am I correct? And it consists of, grocery stores, retail stores, and of course residences. And we know that a lot of the grocery sales tax is done by sales tax revenue, and of course the grocery tax, which is the tax revenue in question. So the key findings for me, we thought of a cannabis business, a cannabis dispensary that we can have in the retail spaces off of 64 and 170 on the Brentwood retail spaced area. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So the Missouri Metro findings in areas when cannabis businesses, especially with the recreational use, opened up, it brought in about a little over 14 million from February to May alone. Since that time, the revenue has surged and actually has tripled its revenue surgings across the state. The projected growth from that could actually eclipse, if we strategize it and if it's marketed right, it could actually eclipse the $4 million that you would actually receive in grocery sales tax alone. Also, the taxation structure, we know that there is always a sales tax associated with buying product. But on top of that, there is an average of 6% recreational sales tax used for recreational cannabis, so you can also tax that as well. So you can essentially double tax. So you have the sales tax, and then you also have an average of 6% on top of that that you can tax for recreational cannabis use. The strategic findings that we have is through a partnership that we have known in the community. It's a partnership of a group called Premium Pack. They are a consulting group. And this consulting group, it gives you a direct pipeline to a lot of your key stakeholders within the cannabis industry. You don't have to go through a lot of the emails and red tape. These people pretty much have a go-to direct line and pretty much call away from these key stakeholders. And one of them is Mr. Patrick Jones. We've already had conversations with them. We've kind of previewed what's going on with Brentwood, and the team is actually ready to go and is excited about partnering with Brentwood if you would have them. So the contact information and email will be given to Ms. Bola and the team. The implementation strategy is to engage Premium Pact and, of course, having different scouting locations. We're going to get to that in a minute because we are seeing listings of the retail spaces that you all own and retail spaces that are actually open that could be used for new businesses and for new retail as well. So the projected impact is the immediate boost of revenue, as I said, with the average of about 14 million from that projected alone, now has resurged and tripled. We believe that you all can receive a large amount of revenue that could really supplement and actually give over to more tax revenue that can help the citizens of Brentwood, that can add to the benefits of Brentwood, and that can add to more of the beautification that we've already seen as the city of warmth. It could be a little bit warmer. How about that? And of course, the long-term financial security of it, we know and we've seen the data that this new business venture and that this new industry can add a long-term sustainability to your business structure and to the tax revenue. And let's look at location recommendations. So if you see in the map right here, these are the businesses that were listed to be vacant or listed to be owned by the city of Brentwood. So we recommended these locations right here within the 64-170 intersection. We see that it is easily accessible by your neighboring municipalities and for those who already shop in your cities. It can be seen easily. They can have a nice funnel of people coming in. And of course, the more visibility, the more foot traffic you have, the more foot traffic you have, the more sales you have. The more sales you have, the more taxes you bring in. The more taxes you bring in, the warmer Brentwood will become. Got it? Wonderful. And while we're thinking about new businesses, I'm going to hand it over to my friend Chris. He's going to tell you about corporate sponsors.
Okay, I appreciate that, Stuart. So yeah, Stuart did a very nice job kind of walking us through what a new business proposal might look like as we engage with potential partners here in the community. Over this next section, I'm going to walk you through what some strategies that we might be able to employ to further unlock revenue streams from assets that are currently existing within the city. So a key strategy is looking at how can we provide to potential corporate sponsors or other partners in the community a valid proposal that would align with not only the city's mission and values, but also that potential sponsor's mission and values. So as we kind of walk through this example, I'll focus on the Brentwood Ice Rink as a primary focus. However, some of the strategies that we talked through could definitely be employed to other community assets, such as the park, athletic fields, dog park, you name it. As I mentioned, creating a compelling proposal that highlights the value of corporate sponsorship of the ice rink or community asset definitely focuses on some of the key benefits. Is what the environmental impact of that sponsorship or partnership might be. And as we look at that, it really comes down to two main things that we'll look at here. The first is the idea of sustainable practices through additional funding. One of the primary benefits of additional funding or corporate sponsorship is that you have additional funds to further improve or upgrade the existing assets. So either through maintenance programs or through maintenance of equipment that would allow you to better sustain and better operationalize those assets to continue to benefit the community. On top of that, as with that further partnership, you'd be able to provide an argument for the sponsor of whether that's branding rights to the machinery or equipment, or as well as branding rights potentially to the rink or the park itself. So in a future slide, we'll take a look at what some of those different sponsorship levels might look like. But for now, let's take a look at what another benefit might be. The next would be cultural and social enrichment. So we know Brentwood is a very tight-knit community, and through that, the residents are able to engage with each other and engage with those around them, and additionally, through different programs that are offered, are enabled to better connect with the surrounding environment. So through a corporate sponsorship, you'd be able to further enhance the community engagement, whether that's through additional yoga in the park activities. I know that's a popular one. Or additionally, like an Easter egg hunt in the park, or skating with Santa. The list goes on in different ways that you can potentially enhance and enrich the programs you already have through the additional funding or the additional resources that corporate sponsors could bring in. A primary one that we'll talk about here is the idea of youth development. When you think about how a corporation or another business seeks to develop its future pipeline of potential future customers, a key aspect would be, the youth who hasn't necessarily, developed an opinion on the business or on the corporation, or would still be open to potentially, when you think about a bank, would be potentially open to where they might choose where they would want to bank in the future. Additionally, that coincides, very nicely with the youth hockey programs that the Brentwood Ice Rink has, whether that's through Learn to Skate or additional youth hockey leagues. Moving on, we'll look at, the enhancement of public relations. So by providing funding or providing a sponsorship to the city and sponsoring an asset or sponsoring a program, that corporation or business would be able to positively impact its corporate image. They're seen as being engaged with the community. They're seen as being supporting the community. And so that kind of ties together, as we look at the next one in economic stimulus. So as I mentioned initially, through some of those sustainable practices or the additional funding that might be generated through a corporate sponsorship, as you look at either maintenance programs or potentially enhancing either the park or building a new addition to the park or an ice rink, that creates jobs. That's an economic impact and a long-term economic impact at that through the addition of jobs. Additionally, whenever you have businesses that are able to support either programs, using their marketing pipelines and their reach, you're able to further engage with potentially patrons who may be outside of the city of Brentwood, thus bringing people into the city and furthering the likelihood that they would be able to attract tourists, as well as when tourists visit the city or visit the community, they're more likely to engage with the surrounding businesses as well. So you're kind of, as Stuart mentioned, you're able to almost realize a double advantage there by not only do you have the funding from the corporation, but by fostering further engagement, you're seeing higher business patronage around the surrounding community. And lastly, one of the main benefits would be through health and wellness. So we all know physical activity further and advantageously impacts your health, as well as the idea of mental well-being, as I mentioned, through other programs like yoga in the park. So now that we've kind of identified what some of the key benefits are of a potential corporate sponsorship, let's take a little bit closer look at identifying, who can we target as potential corporate sponsors. And so there's a few main areas that we can look to target. The first being large local corporations. So these are corporations that have significant operations in St. Louis. There's opportunity to potentially improve their public image, whether that's through Anheuser-Busch or Bayer, Centene, Emerson, or Ameren. They would all benefit highly from potentially engaging positively with the community. Sports brands, either through donations in kind of sports equipment or potentially sponsoring athletic programs. Rawlings and Nike have large operations and large presence within the region. Further, the St. Louis Blues and the affiliate programs, they have a large investment and a very large stake in developing youth hockey talent in St. Louis, making St. Louis and Missouri a broader competitive region in the sport. Taking a step back, also looking at Centene, a lot of these corporations are known to have community involvement and community sponsorships. You think of the Centene Ice Rink, Centene Ice Center out in Maryland Heights. So these are, and Emerson further sponsors the Enterprise Center, Ameren as well. These are all corporations that are known to be active in the community, so they're also potential there to further engage. Financial institutions, so as I mentioned before, when you think about the youth development and potential young adults who are looking to establish where they want to bank, where they want to invest, it makes a good idea to get them out involved in front of an opportunity to potentially engage with the community there. There's a dual benefit not only to the city but also to the sponsor as well. Healthcare, similarly, when we look at the benefits of physical and mental well-being, BJC and Mercy are two local corporations that have a strong presence within the region. They could be good opportunities to partner with there. When you think about programs like either youth hockey, athletic leagues in the parks, yoga in the park, any of the other martial arts classes, things like that, these would be good targets to potentially pursue. Education, similarly to the financial argument, these are institutions that have a strong presence within the region that are looking to develop the pipeline for the future students to attend their institutions within the region. And last but not least, longstanding local, regional chains, Schnucks and Deerberg. Schnucks, of course, has the location here in Brentwood. These would be also good targets to pursue. Oh, Deerberg's, yeah, sorry. Yeah, Deerberg's as well, yeah. And then lastly, looking at other cultural partners in Missouri, Botanical Gardens as well as the St. Louis Zoo. Strong connection there between the idea of being outdoors and physical and mental well-being. So lastly, as part of this section, we'll take a look at what an example kind of chart might look like for potential yearly costs or yearly funding for a potential level of sponsorship. I'll caveat this and say this is definitely an example. Further, we would want to refine based on true market analytics, how we can better give a strong case and a strong proposal on what the regional and annual visitors are to these different assets within Brentwood, and then as well as kind of cross-reference that with what some of the other strong partners are. We thinking like the Muni, the zoo, Botanical Gardens would be things that we could also compare to further refine what that yearly sponsorship might look like. The key benefit here really is that by establishing a sponsor, you're unlocking an annual revenue stream and a recurring revenue stream. So this isn't necessarily a one-time deal. This is something that you would be able to further forecast years into the future, which is a strong benefit. So I won't go into all the gory details here, but after the presentation, if there's anything in the report or anything we want to further explore, definitely be open to questions, what some of the benefits might look like there. All right, so that wraps it up for me, and at this point, I'll toss it over to our other friend Robert Mason II to talk about partnering with our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Chris. Currently, I want to talk about neighborhood partners and the benefits for partnering with them. First, I'd like to start with if you support your neighbors, they will definitely in kind support you. One of those partners is partnering with the school. Currently, Brentwood has 818 students at the middle school and high school. If you partner with them for trivia nights, they could produce good dividends with half of the proceeds going to the high school as well as you. Have a thing with Beaky, their mascot, call it Beaky Bucks. Use that and it can bring people in most definitely. Partner with municipalities and do crosswork with them, something with Clayton as well as Richmond Heights. Have a booth for Brentwood, show people why this is one of the top places to move and you can bring people here to move and that can increase your taxes. And the third thing is creating a neighborhood innovation center. It can grow and support your small businesses that are locally here. You can even create your own district for businesses and use that increased tax to fund anything that might be missing in your budget. Personally, being a member of the Dutchtown South Community Corporation on their board of directors, I've seen how this has increased their neighborhood, keeps the community together, while also growing your local economy. Thank you. And I'd like to turn it over to my talented team members. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so you've heard a few of our diversification strategies, but it's very important that we don't forget the community that we serve because the response from residents will have a huge impact on the successful implementation of whichever strategy you choose to move forward with. So I'm going to talk through public awareness and effective implementation of a public awareness campaign. Starting with key components of a public awareness campaign. So our focus of information, it'll be important to identify crucial information relevant to the target audience, focusing on clarity, relevance, and importance. Make sure that you tailor the message for various mediums, ensuring that it remains impactful and easily understandable. Understand the demographics of your residents to assure accessibility for all residents. Our next component will be messengers. So internal, identify relative city departments to deliver the message authentically and directly to residents. And external, identify external partners and stakeholders. Moving on to our third key component, which would be timeline. So define the campaign launch date and consider factors like urgency. Determine the key information to be launched at the campaign's outset to establish a foundation for further engagement. And anticipate any potential challenges such as production delays or approval processes that could impact the campaign's timeline. And then We're talking about money, so our final component would be budget. So you will need to do some cost identification, analyze all associated costs, including production, distribution, advertising, personnel expenses to develop a successful campaign, and then funding source identification. Determine the source of funding to launch the campaign, whether from existing budgets that could potentially absorb the costs, grants, or partnerships with external organizations. And so how can we kind of tailor these key components for Brentwood? With our focus of information, inform residents about the proposed strategies to diversify Brentwood's revenue stream and the reason behind the need to ensure financial sustainability. Tailor the message for various mediums, ensure it remains concise and impactful. Make sure that it's suitable for both social media, community meetings, and local publications. Address language barriers by providing information in multiple languages and ensure ADA compliance. Our messengers, engage city departments such as finance, community development, and public affairs to deliver the message and provide their expertise. External partners and stakeholders, collaborate with local businesses and trusted community leaders to amplify your message and garner broader community support. For your timeline, seamlessly try to integrate the campaign into existing community events to maximize outreach and engagement. Anticipate potential delays in content production or approval processes, and establish your contingency plans to ensure timely delivery of information. And for our budget, explore cost-effective communication channels like social media or things that could be free advertising that you could use, and seek funding from the city budget or explore partnerships with local businesses and organizations to support the campaign's launch and its sustainability. So some strategies we have for our public awareness campaign. Number one, surveys. With surveys, you can gather feedback from residents regarding their concerns and priorities. You can host town hall meetings to provide updates on your proposed revenue diversification strategies and solicit community input. Community informational sessions to educate residents about the implications of revenue loss and potential strategies. Community events, you could participate in local community events, pass out information, engage with residents about your campaign, and then leverage both online platforms and physical outreach so you're able to reach all audiences within the community. And so an example of some physical outreach, creating flyers. So here we have a flyer and a QR code, scan the survey. This is something you could pass out when you're at events, or mailers you could utilize. We also definitely want to leverage social media and utilize hashtags to reinforce key campaign themes and objectives. So an example of that could be, we're committed to transparency in decision-making. Stay updated on our efforts to diversify revenue streams. Hashtag transparency matters. Or, informed citizens make for a stronger community. Stay informed, stay engaged, and make hashtag informed decisions about Brentwood's future. So here are some benefits and outcomes and why a public awareness campaign is vital. Inclusive decision-making. Community engagement ensures that residents will have a voice in the decision-making process, and it allows them to contribute their insights and feel connected to the result. Building trust. Transparent communication through awareness campaigns builds trust between city governments and residents by providing them accurate information about the challenges and opportunities facing the community. And finally, enhance support and cooperation. Public awareness campaigns generate support and cooperation from residents, businesses, and stakeholders, facilitating the successful implementation of revenue diversification initiatives and ensuring their long-term sustainability. And now I will pass it over to Katie, who is going to share some public awareness strategies that you could implement now.
Hi everyone, we're kind of getting into the end here. So that's kind of long-term planning in terms of how things can be implemented and bringing awareness about the potential budget loss you guys could be facing if that sales tax is repealed in Jeff City. 3 easy things that we see that you could do now with like little to little to no cost at this point, low barrier to entry. Just building out a dedicated website page on your website that kind of covers how your city would be impacted by that tax repeal, why, what bills are currently being considered, as well as who their state representatives are for residents feel comfortable reaching out to contact them, and just doing a community sentiment survey. So some of these ideas, if you come up with additional ones, kind of bringing about like how your residents and the general city feels about, hey, is this something that you feel comfortable? If this is something we're considering, give us your feedback. And using and sending out that sentiment survey just through a targeted mailer campaign. It's old school, but if you have older residents, it's also pretty easy just to do a QR code on a mailer and send people directly to that sentiment survey instead of like canvassing and doing it one-on-one. And kind of an example of what be included on the website page is just building out a table. Super simple. All of these could hyperlink to the actual like form, but they could email, as well as like the governor's office thing there that it's not linked on the PowerPoint, but it's linked on the document that we have for this. It takes you directly to a page people could fill out a message that gets sent to the governor's office. And then an example of what a mailer could be, and this is like an interactive part. If you want to participate, you don't have to. I built out a sentiment survey example on Google Forms that if you scan this as a working QR code, something kind of what it would look like if you send it out to someone, the sort of questions you could have on there. And Google Forms are free. Of course, you probably want something more, secure for city website side of things. But that's kind of 3 easy things that we saw. Oh, I'll go back. Go right ahead. So the questions we included on there are all the different strategies that we came up with and kind of are tailored questions that people can respond to. And there's a share your thoughts with us spot. So yeah, it should work. I made sure it was interactive.
It was more a statement of my phone than.
That is the thing too. That's the thing too. Phones don't always want to cooperate. Okay. Oh yeah. And then I'm going to give it over to Stuart one more time to kind of wrap up everything we talked about.
But one, we want to just say thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you to Ms. Bola, and of course, thank you to the team back there. We really appreciate it. This really was a passion project for ours. Even though we have multiple municipalities, we still call these places home. I mean, I've shopped around here, I've hung around here. I'm an alum of Webster University, so I just, I come around here a lot. So these places like this, it is home and it does affect all of us. But of course, the benefit of it is for all of these strategies, reduce dependence on traditional funding, and of course, mitigate financial risks, enhance capabilities to weather future challenges, to create more resilience in a vibrant Brentwood community. Now, the recommendations for all of this is to explore the new businesses, of course, with Premium Pack. We're going to give that information in a full paper report. Engage with corporate sponsors, partner with surrounding neighborhoods, and enhance public awareness. Now, we've given this in a 4-pronged way. Of course, these are strong strategies in and of itself individually. However, we recommend that it not be either or, but both and, just to ensure that we are making a strong financial decision for the community and for the city as a whole. And we want to thank you for your time, and we will pause for questions.
Alderwoman Tice.
I don't actually have any questions, but I just want to say thank you to all of you. You can tell this was a lot of work, a lot of thought went into this, and I think there's some really helpful strategies and some stuff that we're sort of doing, and so it's nice to hear you talk about that. But I just wanted to express congratulations for doing this, and thanks for focusing on Brentwood.
I'll certainly echo that sentiment. I mean, it's pretty clear that a lot of work and organization and focus went into this presentation, and you took a problem and a fear we have, and you tried to devise a solution in a way that we could go forward and executing. So I am heartened. I at one point in my life, I was considered young, but I'm not anymore, and it heartens me to know. I had a season of having this kind of volunteerism, and to see you all come out and dedicate your time and your talent to this and to us is greatly appreciated, and, gives me hope. I did have a question as to the cannabis, and it's okay if you don't have your crystal ball with you. One of the things that I think that Brentwood relies predominantly on their sales tax revenue to pay for ourselves, and a persistent fear I have is that the term that we're going to get Amazoned by our retail businesses face a constant threat of, well, I can buy that online, so I don't need to go to Whole Foods isn't a good example. That's owned by the owner of Amazon, but the other places, what I mean?
They were Amazon.
They were literally Amazon.
Yeah.
Do you know, just maybe in your interactions with that pack, or just generally in your interactions, is it in the pipeline, to use your phrase, that would be something that might one day be purchased online, and therefore?
That's a good question. We looked at the laws, specifically even with the retail laws, because of course, we know that communities may be apprehensive about certain businesses even being in their community, right? So there's even laws written out to where they can't even be 1,000 feet of a school, 1,000 feet of a church, so certain areas, so the businesses can be comparable to all, so it can be very much a sustainable thing. When it comes to it being monopolized or being bought online, a lot of the laws pretty much prohibit and kind of limit it to in-store purchases unless it's something medicinal. Definitely if it's recreational, the laws are pretty rigid and limited to in-store purchases or coming in the store and buying it. So you really wouldn't see a lot of that, a lot of online e-commerce unless it's something that is medicinal or medical. Like I said, most of the revenue that we're seeing that is surged is recreational, so you're going to get a lot of bulk of that. And of course, there are some supplements when it comes to DEHA grants and things of that nature for Department of Health and Services, and they actually have funds set aside for businesses such as this. So I believe that in the near future, we're not really going to see that right now because it's still in its infancy in a way. We probably won't even see e-commerce, at least on that level. I would even venture off to say we probably won't even see that for about maybe the next 20 years or so, 15, 10, because they're really trying to keep the money in their local municipality, and a lot of local municipalities are seeing the benefit of having in-store revenue from that product.
Happen to know, or have you heard that, I know that it's still illegal as a matter of federal law, which for our purposes, or for my purposes, it's cash only, and that has its own externalities. Do you know, is it in any kind of, yes, it's.
No.
If you go buy marijuana, you have to pay cash.
Yeah.
But might that change? Because I guess the idea of having, the being a cash-only business.
Yeah, it's definitely
highway.
changing. It's definitely it's definitely a congressional conversation, and it's still a congressional conversation, even to the point to where you're seeing it now to the point to where it's being traded on the stock market. There are certain cannabis companies that are now being publicly traded. So this isn't something that is not going to be halted by any means. In my opinion, I think that the city of Brentwood should get on the curve now, because of course it's illegal on the state level, but once it, of course, is boosted and legalized on the federal level, there are more opportunities for revenue, and I believe it could be even harder to pierce this kind of market once it is fully legal federally.
And one more question, I promise.
Yes, ma'am.
What has been your observation in terms of, I guess, saturation? Like, I'll just note that there's a dispensary across the street from the Galleria. There's also one in Rock Hill, kind of by, I think, Hacienda. Well, we have 2 roast beef drive-through. How much? To think that there would be too many sandwich shops, too many, like,
the mattress row.
too many. Yeah, how many mattress Retail outlets does one municipality need, and I think
How much
we
is too
answered-
much,
Yeah,
right?
we answer that well.
Yeah, so I will say this. So I live in Ferguson, so we have a dispensary there. If you go across the way, there's this dispensary in Florissant. We go a little bit down the road, there's another dispensary. They really have like a municipality model, like kind of like a neighborhood model. And I will say this, different recreational dispensaries have a different audience that they go for as well. And so prime example, Green Light would hit the more younger urban crowd. Suede hits more of the city urban professional, and then we have I believe it's Good Cannabis, which hits the more middle-aged professional because it has a more sleeker look and it's white-walled, and so it almost feels like you're walking into a bank. So again, a lot of these businesses would cater towards the community that it serves and would actually be more of a brand to the diversity of Brentwood rather than an oversaturation. It actually could add more visibility to your city because, of course, you have neighboring municipalities that are coming here anyway to shop, to go to the groceries, and to just patronize the city. And of course, you have a lot of city events as well. A lot of these dispensary businesses or dispensary locations host a lot of community events as well to even galvanize the community to come to their location. So therein lies is more foot traffic. That is more work that you don't have to do because they're being a magnet to your community as a whole.
I'm done with my questions.
I have a question about the corporate sponsorships. From a municipality standpoint, I mean, these are all good suggestions of corporate sponsors. What is your perspective on exclusive arrangements for these corporations? Does it seem like, for example, Emerson or Anheuser-Busch or the Blues, could they be prohibited from sponsoring certain places in our municipality if they have a sponsorship somewhere else, or
Yeah, no, there's from the research we've done, there's no laws that would prohibit any sort of like over or like monopolization of potentially sponsoring community-based aspects. I think maybe from a marketing outreach, and that could lead a little bit more into when we think deliberately about which sponsors we would want to pursue, we would probably want to take into consideration other surrounding either assets or other surrounding programs that they also sponsor. There could be, in the same vein, there could be additional synergies if they sponsor for example, they sponsor a youth development hockey program through the St. Louis Blues. It may be a close tie to also sponsor one in the city of Brentwood if that's not a market they've yet penetrated. So, short answer, no, I don't think there is anything that would prohibit a potential corporation from sponsoring something in Brentwood just because they also have a similar program in, say, Richmond Heights or in, West County. In fact, it may be a synergy that you could consider.
great.
No specific questions, but thank you guys for the presentation. There's definitely some outside the box suggestions here that are creative, and we'll definitely have to consider them. So thank you guys.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to hear about the 2023 audit?
We'll settle for a photo.
That's fine too.
Oh, you want to do it with us? Okay, sure. Or do you want us to be in it? Yes, please. Yes. Do you want us to come? Yes.
One, two, three. Thank you.
agreements in place. It's like you have to be submitted. No,
Go to Brad.
just like you have
Go
to
to
be.
Brad.
What's that?
Go to Brad.
Oh, okay, well,
Brad's online.
are we ready? I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so, item 5A of the agenda is the investment report. Brad, I see you up there. You have the floor.
Oh, seriously.
And it appears as though we cannot hear you. Can you hear us?
Unmute him.
Hold on a second, Brad, if you can hear me, we don't have your sound. School and a park and that kind of thing. Time, place, manner.
Brad's sound going.
Yeah. Brad, if you could stand by while we fix your audio, we're gonna take up the next item and then we'll come back to you. Sorry about that. So we will stick a pin in the investment report 5A, and then we moved up the audit presentation to 5B.
Okay, so you guys have a draft of the financial statements. So in 2020, it took you 29 months to have a draft of the financial statements. 21, it was 10 months. 2022 is 9, now it's 4. So you're heading in the right direction.
Yay!
Kudos to Michelle for sure. This will be, in prior meetings, I would oftentimes talk about the misstatements that we'd have and some of the things that we've identified. And this has really been a very clean audit. Reconciliations, especially around cash, payables, and invoices, and responses to our requests were very timely, and that allowed us to really provide you with the draft within 4 months. So the scope of our work was obviously the financial statements. We did not have a single audit. It fell below that $750,000 threshold. You likely will have one next year because of MoDOT funding, and you'll expend the rest of the American Recovery Plan Act money. The remaining balance of your American Recovery Plan Act funds is approximately $460,000. Right now, that remaining balance is sitting as deferred or unearned revenue. We do assist with converting your books, because you keep them traditionally on a cash basis, to a modified accrual and then a full accrual basis of accounting. We work with both Gina and Michelle to make sure that they're overseeing all the work that we perform to maintain independence and still execute the audit. That's no different than what we've done for the past 3 years. So we're substantially complete with our audit. It does have to go through a quality review process. That quality review process is starting right now. When I go to the board in a couple of weeks, I'll present a final version. And then the results of our audit is an unmodified opinion. So that's the cleanest opinion you can get. As I mentioned, significant improvement in the internal controls. In the past, we've identified significant deficiencies and material weaknesses, things like that. There's none of those that I'm thankful to report this time. Some of the activity that's changed from the prior year, there were some funds that were closed, specifically with Hanley Station and Eager Road. Those debt service funds are closed, as well as the property tax revenues that are associated with those. Some of the financial highlights, the police and fire, which I think Brad's going to talk about, it did really well in '23, yielded about 12%. Your unassigned revenue balances, which again is driven by sales tax, like the conversation we just heard, was about $1.9 million increase, so that's really good. In addition to that, you paid off about $4.6 million worth of debt. You did issue $1.5 million worth of term loans, which I think was used to purchase a property in Litzinger. So we do have some required communications, no fraud to communicate. We always have an unrecorded misstatements associated with straight line amortization versus the effective interest rate method. I'm not going to go into gory details of it, but it's a difference between how your premium on your bonds is amortized off your books. I did mention this last time. I know the city has purchased some charging stations. There are tax credits for those, the same with renewable vehicles and any other set of renewable investments, whether it's new HVAC system. Even though you are a government, you guys are eligible to get those tax credits. During the year, we did adopt an accounting standard, which did not have a material impact on you, but required to communicate it associated with IT software arrangements. If you have those, you effectively have to capitalize what the cost of that asset is and then estimate a liability, and you amortize it over the useful life of that agreement. That's the summary of of the work that we've done, I'd say, over the last 3 months. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me on the financials or anything you want me to discuss further.
Questions? Did that good a job?
Well, Michelle.
I want to go on the record and thank Michelle.
Yes,
All of this is
you beat me
possible.
to it.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Andrew.
I can't think of any time in recent history where an audit got a round of applause.
Next year it's going to be, next year it's 2 months? 2 months next year on the same page?
So, yes. Well done. Thank you. Are we set with audio for Brad?
I can hear you guys.
We can hear, yay.
Turn it up a little bit.
Can we,
Yay.
he's there, can he be turned up?
Oh, yeah.
Talk, Brad.
Talk, Brad. Okay.
Okay, we can
All right,
hear
great.
ya. Woo.
All right, we're live.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, so I'll hop in here. It's a big year, election year, a lot of geopolitical challenges going on. We just wanted to we're closely watching the stagnation and kind of rising inflation or re-rising of inflation that's going on right now, and the Fed actions and the minutes and all that stuff that's going on. So all of that stuff really affects the strategies that we put together and what we make recommendations for you and for all of our municipal clients. But Bola and Michelle and I talk regularly about that at least once a month when we are doing reinvestments or just check-ins. So that is in place. I would expect, I'm anticipating that short-term interest rates, like our money market stuff and any kind of investments that we keep relatively short, would stay about where they are. And actually, in the last couple of weeks, they've increased a little bit. So that's been nice. You all have a 2-page document in part of your board docs. Same as you've been accustomed to it looking. The first little chart there just shows you the active accounts that we currently manage for you. The first 4 are bond reserve funds. Those are the debt service reserves for the open bonds. And then the very bottom is the general fund or the custodial account that we manage excess general funds for you guys.
just represents everything that you have earned as of 2024, and the quarter has just ended. So you're at $243,421. If you go to the bottom, you can add that number to everything that has been earned since we started working with you guys until the end of 2023, 2.7 million. If we go to the last page, the little chart there, you'll see that month over month this year, we're averaging $60,885. And you see in that little chart that the monthly revenue has kind of decreased a little bit from January to February, then to March, and then it's increased a little bit. And that just represents some reinvestment at some higher yields that I had referenced before. So what's really cool to me is, this $60,000 a month on average, that's pretty close to like somebody's salary. And that's like every month. It could be a department of 12 people paying their salaries for you guys making these decisions and getting this money invested. So kudos to you guys, pats on the back, and everything is looking good and moving forward.
Are there any questions? That's great, Brad, and clearly I'm doing a great job, so. No, but yes, yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, that's fantastic news. So keep up the good work. And I don't think we have any other questions, so thank you for your time. So we'll move on to 5C, which is the compensation and benefits study status update. Oh, did I? I'm sorry. The B threw me off. She's standing at the podium now. Sorry about that. So 5B is the financial statements. Sorry, Michelle.
The financial statements. Hi. Good evening. In front of you, you have the March financial statements. They're in your board docs. March by far is pretty uneventful. We're 3 months in. Everything seems to really be trending well. No big surprises from what I can see. I don't plan to go through the entire thing. Sort of as Brad indicated, interest income currently exceeds even what we had budgeted. We've sort of laddered things out for about 3 years, so I expect that trend to sort of continue. But once again, when I'm monitoring revenues and expenditures and I'm sending them monthly to the department heads, this is a collaborative effort. I don't see anything glaring necessarily to discuss. You'll see admin costs have risen, but we're fully staffed. Planning and development has also risen over this time last year. They're also differently staffed. So some of those are associated with those rising costs. Are there any immediate questions when you look at the documents?
Not seeing any.
Great. Thank you.
Try it again. Now, item 5C, compensation and benefits study status update.
Just a very brief update on where we are. We received a 75% response rate to the external market survey that was sent out. That 75% is for the 32 comparators, the 25 cities, and the 7 fire districts. We did receive 24 responses, and that's on the agenda for you. The job description and review for classification or reclassification is scheduled for completion on May 13th. Supervisors and directors will have their portion done by the end of this week. The analysis of benefits is scheduled for completion by May 13th, and at that time, we'll receive a preliminary draft report, giving time to review the report to ensure that we have the deliverables met. We were looking for a date in June, which we addressed at the beginning of the meeting.
Great. And so I know, so that will be our regularly scheduled June Ways and Means meeting, and I'm expecting that meeting is going to be of interest to several different constituents. Kind of put that out there into the ether that's the date we're planning on.
So we will definitely publicize it.
Alderman Gould?
Are we, of the 25 that we sent out, are we expecting that any of them might come trickling back in, or?
If they trickle in, Rick has given word that he can add them to the analysis.
Okay.
We have reached out. Chief has done a great job at reaching out to the districts. BOLA has reached out to the city administrators to help get that information in, which was successfully how we received the 75% response. Typically, it's more of a 30%
Right,
response when you
right.
have that many
No,
comparators.
I'm pleased that there were so many that,
Yeah,
you know, but.
that's a great
and,
return.
and of the ones that didn't respond, were they kind of, were they critical for us to evaluate, or?
I don't recall the names, and we will continue to encourage them. It's a lot of work
Yeah, it
that
is,
we're
yeah,
asking them to help us complete, and after a while, it's usually the HR manager that's doing it, and it seems like we started this trend several years ago where instead of just doing it in-house, because when I worked next door, I did the compensation study. So now people find value in farming it out, finding the true consultants to do it. So we'll continue to ask them to participate. And I think that because of Rick and Karen, these are the consultants, they're just asking, don't even do all the analysis for
Right.
us, just
give us
send
the
us the
data.
data and
Yep.
we'll input
Right.
it. So we're trying to make
That's
it
their job.
easier
Right.
for them. We'll continue to ask them to help submit so we can have 100% compliance.
I'm pleased. I just was curious if those cities, if they did submit, if they would still be included. Yeah. All right, great.
And please revisit again, when do you think we might have a draft to?
So the analysis of the benefits is scheduled to be completed May 13th, as well as the job description and reclassification and classification review. So around that time, they'd finalize that draft report so that we can review it and make sure that the deliverables were met.
And I don't know, I'm scheduling this out in my mind. If it's possible, I would like that, the draft report to be, but if it could be circulated, you know, to not only us, but to the entire board and to, you know, to the extent that they have questions, I think it would benefit the presenters to get them ahead of time. I kind of treat it how we do with the budget, so we can really just make that a very meaningful committee meeting. Item 6A on the agenda is we just have one item, and that's the approval of the minutes. Has anyone had an opportunity to review those minutes? Any changes? I'm not seeing anyone raise their hands. Any objection to having that be approved by acclamation? All right, seeing none, it'll be so approved. Item 7 is old business. 7, oh, no, we already did that. Sometimes I feel like Ron Burgundy. Item 8 on the agenda is new business. 8A is the text amendment to Division 2 home occupants of Article 5 supplemental regulations of the city's zoning ordinance to comply with recent state legislation.
Good evening. So due to state legislation, we had to relook at our home-based home occupations regulations. So the state prohibits us to specifically list prohibited uses, but we can look at those impact of those uses, and therefore the text amendment under the zoning code addressed those, includes those recommendations that were approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. In addition, we cannot require a business license. So before you tonight includes the strike through or elimination of the home occupation regulations under the business license section, under Chapter 605. So, which is under Chapter 6, License, Taxation, and Miscellaneous Business Regulations. So it's eliminating the reference to home occupations in that section.
Is it accurate to say that we have to do this in order to comply with state law?
Correct.
Question there. Does anyone have any questions?
I just, what types of, how many businesses did you say we had?
We have about 22
22?
business licenses.
And what kind of businesses are those? These aren't people that are just working from home.
Generally,
in a corporate setting. You're talking about people actually running a business that have customers coming to them, or?
Some, like there was a clock repair guy, I believe, just off the top of my head. I couldn't list them all, but some of them were, you know, accountants. They could be such things as an accountant, since some people come by. So others could be working from home on the corporate. They just were required to register as part of their business.
Okay. Okay.
So.
So I have and sort of related. but it's about parking. So, in what section of our code is it addressed about parking a vehicle with the name of your business on it and whether it can be parked in front of the house? And did the state deal with anything such as that? Or is that the parking such a more of a local thing? And is that where is that addressed in our code?
We don't have a regulation under signage regarding signs on vehicles. But the regulations before you, it's in the zoning code regarding parking. The proposed language is under section 402,000 use limitations. They must have sufficient on-site parking available for all residents and all employees. Customer parking, this was the biggest discussion at the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding customer parking fixtures coming, going. They did not interfere with the use of public parking on the roads with the residents in the vicinity, and may not be contrary to any parking regulations enforced, and may not impede or interfere with vehicular use of the street or safe passage of emergency or street maintenance vehicles. It's intended to promote that, it's for customers that are coming in, like a tailor working out of her home, just dropping off clothes to get fitted or something like that, just in and out quickly.
Okay, so I guess my question's a little about the actual resident, and if the resident owned a cleaning company or an electrical company or a plumbing company, and that vehicle was parked on this, like, I think right now.
That is different,
That's
and
different.
we have brought it up. I'm so glad that Major Hawkins is here today. We have brought this before. I think it's public safety.
Well, and I'm not on public safety, so
exactly, Public Works, and
Public Works.
and there has been those who have complained. I think, and it's all over the city.
Right.
And I think that the residents that complained when we brought this up were in Ward 1.
Yes.
Park Ridge, yeah. So nothing has been done to really enforce it, but I'll just keep on talking until you guys.
So, So the current draft before you does state the residential property must have sufficient on-site parking for all residents and all employees of the home business.
But this is different. This
Yeah.
is for those who take a car home.
Right, take a
or
car
the car
home,
home is always there.
Yeah.
Or maybe you
Major
work for Mary
Hawkins.
Kay and you have a Mary Kay
Exactly.
car and it's on the,
That's true,
really
yes,
quick.
yes.
So we were discussing that at length after a couple of complaints from citizens about people who had taken home their work trucks or such. And it was kind of decided that the language in the ordinance probably should be maybe looked at and tweaked to identify exactly what that meant when we were talking about a commercial vehicle. Because you could have a car that has a magnet on the side or a sign on the side, that's considered a commercial vehicle. Well, what's the reasonableness of that parked on the street versus, a 2-ton truck with a boom on it and a bucket? So I don't know where that landed. I don't believe we ever revisited. Am I correct in
Take
that?
it up.
Yeah.
Take it back up.
okay, well, we were sort of in this parking and
Yes.
home businesses, so
Yes,
That's where we landed with that.
okay,
So.
that might be something to
yes.
resurrect.
So I'll leave it to your discretion as to Public Works or Public Safety. On that committee. So, thank you. Are there other
So
questions?
I do have a question about the parking as far as this ordinance is written up, and it, when it talks about on-site parking, does that mean that they have to have a driveway large enough for themselves to park if they have an employee that happens to be there and the customers, it can't be on the public street? Is that the way this is written?
The way it's written is that, yes, their car and if they have employees that come to their thing, they should be off-site, off the street. Customers can utilize street parking.
Okay.
Since it's meant to be very quick, 1-hour appointment with the accountant or counselor or whoever or something like that. And since there are so few sites in Brentwood that provide sufficient parking for customers and residents on residential areas, the Planning and Zoning Commission did not want to restrict customer parking to on-site only, so they did
Yeah,
want
I mean,
to
I think
allow for
that's,
some
and then
street
how do
parking.
we enforce that? How do we know, I mean, how's this gonna be enforced?
That will be, yeah, it might be, it'd be complaint-driven,
Okay,
that they're creating a nuisance.
so it'll be driven by complaints and then,
Actually, the more you all have this discussion, I'm remembering that we had a similar situation a couple years ago in a private subdivision here in town where the business owner either lost their lease or closed the business, and then they were operating out of their home, and there were like 10 cars. And so residents started to complain, and ultimately, there was a code enforcement letter sent that they either needed to move or I guess that's as much as I remember. So I want to confirm, yes, it is complaint-driven.
okay, all right. And then similarly, on section 5 of that same thing where it says no non-resident employees or customers of the home-based business may be on the premises before 8 a.m. or after 6 p.m. That seems, I mean, depending on what your business is, right? It seems kind of if somebody's running a home business and they're a tailor and they have somebody coming after their work hours, how are we enforcing that?
That is also, would be complaint-based. If all of a sudden they're getting a lot of traffic at 11 o'clock at night, or, at 7 o'clock, or creating a nuisance, then it would be code enforcement as well.
So in my discussion, and I think that when this comes before the board, Mayor Dimmitt will definitely speak about this, but he has asked that staff publicize this so that residents know what we are being required now to do to come into compliance. And so they can come voice their opinion at the board meeting. And as you all have ward meetings, I think it's important that you all talk about this, because this will impact perhaps the quality of your life if you have one of these home-based businesses next door.
Is the time limitation 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. a matter of state law?
That was our attorney's recommendation. It's just those are normal business hours. So we didn't want, if someone had like a lawn care that is starting up equipment at 6 a.m. to drive, it was to do with the nuisance of too early.
8
Certainly.
a.m. is, it was really more the 6 p.m.
Okay.
that struck me. Yeah, no, 8 a.m. I understand, but building on your analogy, it's hard for me to get my dry cleaning after work. But that should there be interest, that's a matter of our municipal policy and not something that we have to follow as a matter of state law. Is that?
That's my understanding, yes.
I do have another question, which I can't believe I didn't ask first. So I know we don't have a choice, and this is being put upon us, but how much revenue loss does this mean for Brentwood?
It was about $2,700.
Okay.
Further questions? Okay, at this point, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the out in board docs and to recommend forwarding on to main board for approval.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Chairwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Herger? Yes. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0.
Okay, the last item on our agenda is citizen comment. We don't have any non-employees in the audience live. Is there anyone online who may wish to come forward and comment?
No one that has their hand raised at this time.
Okay. All right, then seeing no further business, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you on Monday.